Yeah, this short video is designed to help folks that are having problems receiving data, and there's a few reasons why that would be, and we're going to cover each of those hopefully in a rather short video. But for example, if there's a storm out there and you think you should be set up to receive data and you don't see the storm showing up in your database or on your screen, then we need to check a couple things. There's three possible reasons that come to mind. One is that your storm database, and that's located, the information down here, is not the same as your Hurrtrak Online active database. So for example, if you have the 2013 database as the default database, and 2014 is where the data is being updated, you won't see the storm. So what you would want to do is change your storm database to be the same as the Hurrtrak Online active database. So if that's your problem, then you would do the following, which is pretty simple, is you would come up here and either use the menu, drop-down menu, and say File, Database, Change Database, and change it to 2014. And you'd probably want to make it the default. Or you could have done it through your command bar right here where it changes the database. But for example, with Cristobal, once I changed it to 2014, it then showed up. And notice down here on the bottom, the 2014 is a storm database and the Hurrtrak Online active database. The other thing you want to check is whether there's any messages on the Hurrtrak Online tab. Now a normal Hurrtrak Online tab would show green backgrounds for both PC Weather Products data and non-PCWP data. And there's a little, it's hard to read, a little message in here about what's going on. And then here is a more informative message as far as if there's a problem. Might be a user ID or password problem or some kind of issue. So you want to check the message in there to see if there's any type of error type message in that gray box. If that all looks okay and you still don't think you're getting data or you're not getting data, then we need to look at the Hurrtrak Online configuration. To do that, we would come up and select either Tools, User Preferences, or select the command icon here. So we've blown this up a bit, but you'll want to come to your Hurrtrak Online tabs here, and then you have three settings for System, Connection, and Automatic Polling. Obviously your Hurrtrak Online has to be active also, which should be obvious, but if for some reason that box is not checked, then you want to check that, and that could be the source of all your problems. But let's look at these. Obviously you need to put your user ID and password in. Active storm database, in this case we're in 2014, so that's the kind of setting you'd want. Your primary and alternate server names, these have changed recently. However, the old one should still work for now, meaning at least here in late August 2014. And it should look something like that. Now, I've got a global version, so some of this may look a little different. Let's go to the Connection tab, and this is a very important one. Different sites will need different settings. So what I suggest you do is on your current setting, go through and hit each test button. You may not see the third one, it's not too critical. If you don't see the third one, then you need to update to the latest version or release. But it'll just say it's successful or not. Then, and if anything else comes up, some sort of error, then that's where your problems could be. Text file format, it also will say test is successful, but it'll bring up a Internet Explorer box with some data in it, and it should look something like that with dates and times in it. The reason we do that is, let me get rid of that. The reason we do that is because sometimes you'll get a successful download, but what it is your proxy server is sending an error message, and you want to be able to see that. And then finally, if you have this third one, you can just test that connection also. So when you get all three of those working, you should have a valid connection to our servers. If it doesn't, then you can try the next setting down, Auto Detect. If that doesn't work, go to the third one, which is an auto detect on the network. If that doesn't work, then you're going to have to go in and find out what the specifics are on your proxy server at your site. And you'd have to talk to a network administrator for that. So we're going to go back to our setting, which is no proxy. Finally, on automatic polling, this is important also. This is for a global system, but you should make sure that Atlantic is checked. Polling interval, anything you'd like from 5 minutes upwards. And if you have the global system, you can check off the Eastern Pacific and Western Pacific and Indian Oceans. For what it's worth, quiet updates is suggested so it doesn't interrupt you when you're working. And finally, Hurrtrak Online timer is also suggested. And that's a separate topic if you feel you're having a problem with that. And as it says, that will be initialized when Windows reboots, because it goes into, the shortcut goes into the Windows startup folder. So if any of the settings were a source of the problem, just hit Save All Changes and exit. It'll come back and should try to read the data, but what I would suggest you do is to close Hurrtrak and then come back in and let it reopen and reprocess the data. So in summary, there's 3 areas you want you to look at. 1, make sure these 2 match and there's no red bar, the Storm database and the Hurrtrak Online database. Make sure you're not getting any messages here indicating a problem. If you are, then you need to go to the 3rd step. And finally, we won't go back into all the details, go into your user preferences, the Hurrtrak Online ones, and go through the steps that we just went through. So that's really it. Of course, every system is a little different. You may have something else going on there. You may have the servers blocked. But going through these steps, we should at least find that out before we go into more details. And obviously, if you're having problems after looking at these different steps and determining if things are blocked and that kind of thing, please contact us and we'll see if we can help you out from here. And you can do that via email, support@pcwp.com, or just give us a call and we'll see what we can't do over the phone.